Hi guys, welcome to another Growers Guide. In this video, I would like to share with you a silly theme deck that is surprisingly effective. This deck started out as a joke because of Stouthelm's Overdrive Ostrich Focus deck, but it grew into something I actually enjoyed playing. Right, now without further ado, the AngryBirbs deck. Right, so this deck is a green-black aggro deck using Nero's Devil Breaker hero art. I've borrowed some concepts of the budget black-green Nero deck that was played back in November, December 2019. Right, so we feature several chicken monsters from Monster Hunter, that is Yantutku, and you have Chichiyaku, we have Kuluyaku, and we have Astalos. Now, I call this the Angry Birds deck because, as you can see, all of the main units in this deck are birds. Right, so let's go with the units first. We have two key cards, that is Yankutku and Asalos. As you may have noticed, they are both 3 cost, and that ties in later when we discuss Warped Research Instinct, but more on that later. Right, so we use Yankutku because it's an agility unit, and it has 3 costs, which was mentioned earlier. It also has 2/5 stats, which are pretty decent for a 3 cost card. Our next chicken is the Chichiyaku. It is placed here, so we have an answer if ever our units get stolen or whatever. Or it also helps when we have an charge shot X or whatever enemy that uses enemy relies on key cards to work. Then we have Kuluyaku. This is more of a support type unit because when played, it explores for agility. Agility is a 1 cost card, so it's pretty cheap, easy to activate, and it gives +1/+1 and agility to a friendly unit. So this is mostly used to assist our Astalos it resonates. Uh, so it Astalos resonates +1 for every action card that is played. And when we use the agility card on it, so it's flying, it has agility, and it gets buffed. So this card ramps up really quickly, especially since we have a lot of cheap action cards in this deck. Alright, now we also have Iris because this is still an aggro deck, and aggro decks rely on fast MP to put units on the board to get out the buffs, and Iris is the best candidate to do that job. If you're playing a budget deck, if you don't have an Iris or you don't want to use Iris, you can replace this card with a layer. And then we have Heavenly Kicks Chun-Li because this is a staple in most aggro decks. She is 5 cost, 2/6 stats, and she has agility and combo, which ties in nicely with the theme of this deck, which is supposed to go in hard, go in fast. Right, now that we're done with all of the units, let's go through the action cards. Alright, so let's go through the buff cards first. We have Beast Cannon. This is another staple for aggro decks. It's 2 cost to give a friendly unit to attack, and that's pretty straightforward. And then we have Heartless Experiment, which also gives 2 attack, but is 1 cost. Now the restriction is that it sacrifices 3 life to play this card, and that is completely fine because we have an action card, Siblings Memory, to give 6 life to your hero. So we have this card to offset some of the self-sacrifice that we're doing. Right, and then we have Psycho Power. This is one of 2 cards that will help us keep units on the board. So aside from giving it +2 attack, it also gives our units +2 HP. So that makes them last slightly longer on the board. The other action card that we have to preserve our units on the board is Wall Jump. It gives a shield which protects our unit from one instance, no matter how much damage that one instance is. And then we have Lightning Fast. Well, because of 2 reasons. One is because it has an Angry Bird on the card art, and we have to stay on theme. But also because this is another agility. If you notice, with Memory 2, it gives +1/+1 and agility to a friendly unit, which functions exactly the same as the agility card. The only difference is that this is 3 cost. Now, if you look at the agility card, you have to play Kuluyaku first, and that's the time where we get access to the agility card. Now, the difference is that this is 3 cost, but we don't have to summon a Kuluyaku first. So technically, this is we're saving on MP, because sometimes we don't have enough board space or we don't have enough MP to place a Kuluyaku on the board. So this is just an alternative to the agility card. Alright, and now the last card on the deck is Warped Research Instinct. Now this is what I call a tech card because sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not, but it's great when the stars align. Right, so we have two conditions to get the most out of this card. The first is Memory 4, which is easy enough to achieve with this deck given the number of actions that we have. But the biggest restriction is that we need two free-cost units in the graveyard before we get full benefit out of this card. Right, so sometimes that doesn't really happen all too much. Sometimes we get a bunch of Chichiyaku, some Irises, maybe Heavenly Kicks Chunli, and we don't get enough Yankutkus or Astalos on the board, and they take some time to get in the graveyard. So I have to go out of my way to meet the conditions. Sometimes I have to let Yankuku or an Astalos to die first before I can play this. But when this is a really clutch card. When the game reaches over 2 minutes, this is when it starts to shine. But the goal of this deck is to end the game before 2 minutes because if the game drags on, this deck won't be able to keep up with most of the meta decks. Right, so now that the cards have been introduced and everyone knows what the cards do, let's get on to some games. Right, so the first game I want to show you guys is against a Burn Dante deck. It's a red-purple deck that specializes in using burn cards to attack the player directly. So I start off with 3 unit cards, a buff card, and a shield card. Now this is really lucky because I used the unit before they could use the MP boost card. That means I have 3 MP to use to buff up my unit. That was really lucky. And then they use an attack card to burn my hero immediately, and I'm okay with that. Right, so now I have a 4-5 agility unit on the board. And I want to put more pressure, so I put another Astalos or another unit, this time on the bottom lane. Right, so they used an action card before the attack hit, which is funny to me, but that gives me a chance to use Heartless Experiment on the Astalos at bottom lane. Then they use another burn card to attack my hero directly, and if you look at that stack, that's a lot of damage to my hero, so I use Sibling Memories to offset some of that damage.
Let's rock, baby.
Right, so now that phase is over, I have a 4-4 agility and a 5-4 flying unit. And this is really scary for a Burn Dante, so they start cycling through their cards and they want to get to more of their control cards, maybe try to bounce my units. And that gave me a chance again to use Sibling Memory, so now I'm at 28 HP and they are down to 18. This is not a situation where a Devil Trigger Dante wants to be in. So they use Devil Trigger to stop some of the incoming damage. Sorry, I can do this. And I use a Kuluyaku to get an agility card. So again, they give me free MP by attacking my units which aren't going to kill them. So I take this chance to use Psycho Power on the middle unit. This will spread out my threats. If you look, all of my units will now have more than 4 attack, and especially my bottom unit, which is now a flying agility unit, and they probably won't survive this next wave. Right, so when this next wave hits, the game is over. But just to make sure, I use Double Trigger to prevent any blockers from coming out. And that's it. That's the first game. If you look at the timer, it's barely 40 seconds. Right, so the next game I want to show you guys is against a Tenkuha Zero deck. Right, so I have Chun-Li on hand and a Yankuku, as well as 3 buffs, so I think this is a good hand to start with. Right, so usually these decks are flyer decks, which will use units like Kechawasha and Morphmon. So I start off with Chun-Li on the top lane to deal really strong pressure right at the start. Now the second, or I mean the middle lane is going to fly soon, so I use Astros to block it. Unfortunately, it got double halted, and I don't want it to die, so I use Psycho Power to boost up its HP and attack. They responded by using a negate, and I really don't want this unit to die, so I use another Psycho Power. So that will bring up its HP and attack to 5-5. Right, and on the top lane, my Chun-Li will kill the Xianko because it has agility, so it will hit first. And on the middle, I was hoping that the Hulk would run out before the attack line hit, but I guess I'm not that lucky. Right, so I use a Beast Cannon on the top lane to apply some pressure, but they negated it. So now I'm thinking of using heal. Yeah, there you go. Use the blue MP to play Sibling Memories. Right, so on the middle, the Absolute is a very big threat. I was planning on using Devil Breaker on it, but it got hit by demonic intimidation, so it goes back to the EX pocket. So I took this chance to use Psycho Power on the top lane to heal it up and to give it 4 more attack. Now I noticed that they used all their MP to do this. That means they won't have blockers. So I used Devil Breaker on Chun-Li to deal 14 combo damage to the face. Then I use a Yankuku on the middle lane to block, but it didn't matter. They couldn't block Chun-Li at the top lane. So again, another really fast game.
Really getting the hang of this new toy.
So the next 2 games I want to show you are me playing, so you can see me tapping on the screen. Right, so this next game is against a 0. So I have 3 units and 2 buffs, so I think this is a good hand to start with. Right. So at the start, I want to test out what they have, so I place a Kuluyaku at the top lane, and then I use a buff to test out what kind of stuff that they have. And they responded with a quicksand, and okay, so that's one of the many bounces that will wreck this deck, so but that's okay. I got the agility card and that was the point. Right, so now I'm going to save up and I want to play the Uluyaku again to get another agility card. So they use draw and nope, nothing I can do about that. So I hover Kuluyaku at the top lane again. And I was so focused on the dropping it that I failed to notice that they dropped a colon on the top lane as well. Right, so I knew they had a weakness, so I used agility on Kuluyaku, and I knew, yep, there you go, there's weakness. So I used Psycho Power, and now I'll get +3 attack, and they give me -3 attack, and Kuluyaku has 2 base attack, so that evens out. This colon is gonna die whatever happens. Then they use a Mizutsune on the middle lane, and I couldn't respond to it just yet, but I do have a Chichiyaku, so I hover it on the middle lane to stop it from lowering my top lane's attack, and I want to kill it as soon as I can because it might be a force deck. I don't want any 4-cost unit on the board, so I use Devil Breaker on the middle lane. This way I can ensure that their Mizutsune is going to die in 1 cycle. Now they use Buffet on my top unit, and of course I don't want that to happen, so I shield it, and then they decide to draw a card. Now I could have used any of my other buff cards, but I didn't want to overcommit because as it were, the things on the board were already okay. So again, they used weakness on my top unit, and I don't want that to happen. So I used that, but they negated. So I Was thinking of using heal, but then I noticed that my MP is orange, so I didn't want to use personal MP because I want to put Astalos on the board. And they used Rakoha, which was pretty scary because my units were pretty low, but surprisingly both of them survived. So that was really lucky for me and really bad for him. Now they used Deadly Traps on my Astalos, but nope, that's not gonna work. It's easy enough to buff it up. They use Brainwash on my top unit, and I took that chance to further buff up my Astalos. Now this is really lucky for me again, because it went down to the bottom lane. Now I consider this lucky because I had a shield card on hand. So before the attack hit, I buffed it up with a shield, and they decided to make it the Kuluyaku flying, which I don't really understand why, but okay. I guess they wanted to be a blocker, but it hits first, it hits the shield, and I'm free to hit face. And there you go. Another fast game. That was just over a minute. Again, this deck works best if games end with under 2 minutes, because if it goes on, it's not going to be a pretty sight. Right, so the last game I want to show you guys is against an Ashura Senku Akuma. So I have 3 units on hand, a buff, and a shield, and I think this is a pretty good start. So again, I start off with the Kuluyaku to get the agility card in hand. I was waiting for them to do something, so I didn't use any of my cards. And I wasn't expecting a Tyrant, so that's really bad. But now I want to save up for the Iris, so I hover it and place it at the bottom lane. Now I wanted to save up and use Chichiyaku on the Tyrant before it transforms, but there was no way that was going to happen. So I just hovered the Chichiyaku on top to seal the Tyrant as fast as I could. And so now that's sealed, and wanted to apply pressure. And I wanted to kill the Tyrant up top, so I used Psycho Power to make sure that it dies in one exchange, but they took that chance to kill my Astalos with Murderous Spikes, and I didn't have enough MP to stop that, so nothing I could do. Right, so the Super Tyrant is dead in one exchange. Now I have 2 threats and a battery on the board, and this is a really good board state for me. So they use summon minions, and I took this chance to use the agility card on the top unit. This deck can make any unit become a threat because of all the buffs, so keep that in mind, guys. Any unit can be a threat with all of these buffs. Right. So I wanted to cycle cards, so I used shield on the middle unit. They were able to summon a Sigma. I wanted to use Devil Breaker, but there was no point because it was gonna die anyway. Then this is where things got a little interesting. They used Living Death. No card in my deck can negate that, so I just pressed OK. So they got a really good units, and I have 2 units back. So I used Chichiyaku to seal the Super Tyrant, and they used Desperate Act to transform their Gormagala into a Shagaru Magala. Now I was thinking of what to buff, and I went with buffing the Chichiyaku because again, I don't want the Super Tyrant to run amok. They used Murderous Spikes on my middle unit, but this time I'm prepared. I had a shield, so that buffs its attack to 3, and that will make Murderous Spikes miss. Then up top, again, another exchange. They used Ashura Senku on the bottom unit. That means that the attack from my Chichiyaku isn't going to kill it. They use Self-Refredation on the top unit, which means it's going to become a Super Tyrant again, and I don't want to deal with that, so I used the Beast Cannon on top. They used another False Throne, and they are out of the MP. Right, so in this exchange, my Kuluyaku should kill the Super Tyrant in one exchange, and I used Devil Breaker on the top unit to damage the Shagaru Magala on the middle a little bit. And I wanted to get 6 attack. I was hoping to draw a 1 cost or any action card to buff up the Astalos in the middle lane, but I wasn't that lucky. So the Shagaru Magala lives with 1 HP. And again, Slow Tyrant and my Kuluyaku are in the top lane again. Alright, so they use predation on the top unit Slow Tyrant again, and I took this chance to use the Lightning Fast on the Astalos. Now, the funny thing is, this time the Super Tyrant on top, I have no answer. So they use Assure Senku on the top unit, and the middle unit is going to die. And
I'm the one.
yep, it's blocked. My Kuluyaku blocked. I wanted to use Chun-Li to kill the Super Tyrant up top, and I used this chance to use the buff card. Now I was really focused on how to deal with the top card. I mean, it's a combo, it's immune, it's flying, it has agility, which is exactly what my game plan was. But I was so focused on that I missed this. If I had used Devil Breaker on the middle unit, the game would have ended. Now Super Tyrant on mid could have killed my Astalos, so I used Shield to block it, and this is that was my misplay. I should have used Devil Breaker, and this is their misplay. If had they used that fruit on the middle unit, I would have lost. I would have lost my Astalos, but they didn't. Their Super Tyrant died on mid, and my Astalos was free to hit their face.
Really getting the hang of this new
Yeah.
toy.
So wow, uh, that's the kind of games that you would get by playing this deck. All right. Alright, I hope you enjoyed those fights. Remember that the game plan of this deck is to go in hard, go in fast, exploit your opponents using their action cards to buff up your units even more, and most importantly, make sure to have fun, because this is a fun deck and it's not a competitive top tier meta deck. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be, just throw whatever and hope for the best kind of deck. Alright, and as always, feel free to ask me questions. I'm on Discord, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, and yeah, feel free to talk to me about the deck. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!